as soon as I see the value in it, like, I'll do it straight away. Whether that's good or bad sometimes, but at the moment, everything I do is working out pretty well.
Thank you for tuning into the show, whether you are watching this on martialartsmedia.com or on YouTube, or listening while on the move on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. This is the Martial Arts Media Business Podcast. My name is George Fourie, and on this show we interview top martial arts school owners, share success stories, share martial arts stories from great martial arts experts, and then we talk about lead generation and marketing strategies in between. So a quick heads up before we jump into the show. I just wanted to make sure that you are already part of our Martial Arts Media business community. It is our free Facebook group where we hang out every day. We talk about lead generation, marketing, and all things martial arts. You can jump in by either clicking a link close to this video or go to martialartsmedia.group. So not martialartsmedia.com, just martialartsmedia.group. That'll take you there. That's the best place for you to go after the show. We are in there every day, and there's a bunch of free resources that we have already uploaded into the group. Things about how to attract the right students, how to increase your sign-up base, how to retain more members, etc. So jump into the show. I will catch you in the group once the show is done. Enjoy. I'll speak to you soon. Hey, George Fourie. Welcome to another Martial Arts Media Business Podcast episode. We're on episode 109 and chatting today to a good friend and a repeat guest, Shane McMahon. Good day, Shane.
Hey, how are you?
Good. So, been a while. Well, I'd say been a while since we spoke on the podcast. I was actually checking back, and we spoke on episode number 74. It's actually back in March 2019. So, depending when you're listening to this, close to the 2-year mark on doing this again. Yeah. So, I wanted to get Shane on again, really to document his journey, because it's been a long journey. We'll go a bit more into the details, but you can check out podcast number 74 for a bit more of the background. The first time we met, how we got started working together, and your dojo was flooded, wasn't it?
Yep. Still remember that one like it was yesterday, yeah.
Flooded dojo. We started working together, did a couple of cool things, worked out well. You jumped up to 185 students. That was in December, in February, so that was a couple of months later. Shot to 200. I've been prompting you to get that 300. You hit 300 students at the time of recording this. Well, last week you said you were at 325. This week you're at...
Yeah, about 340.
340 active students. Just from the sidelines, and I'm going to hand it all over to Shane, but one thing I admire about Shane is just relentless work ethic. Whenever we chat on a Zoom call or something, we're chatting about something, Shane goes quiet and then he's like, yep, it's done, it's sent. And so he's just a relentless action taker. We could almost stop the podcast there if you wanted to get the value out of something. And Shane's journey on how he progresses so fast is just taking action all the time. It's probably a good place to start, right? Because what got you to that? What is it that prompts you to take action quickly? Is that something that came from childhood, or is it the discipline of karate? What's got you to that?
I think that's just sort of my personality. I just want to, if I see the value in it, I'll just do it straight away. Just like setting up Calendly, like last week we were talking about it. As soon as I see the value in it, I'll do it straight away. Whether that's good or bad sometimes, but at the moment, everything I do is working out pretty well. Some things don't work, but so far it's been pretty good.
Yeah, I can't recall who shared this exactly. I think Elon Musk shared something similar, that the person who makes the most business decisions wins. And in context, and I'm probably butchering this, but the overall story is if you make 100 decisions a week or a day and 50 of them fail, then you still made 50 decisions in the right direction. The problem is when you overanalyze and you sit back and you make 10 decisions and still 50% ratio, 5 of them fail. So now you've made 5 steps in the right direction versus 50. So either, when we think we are doing the wrong things, doing the just many things all the time and making decisions rapidly actually goes a bit further at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm making rash decisions on the spot that's going to impact my cash flow or my life like in a massive way, but just little things that I see that are much better. I'll just change like that. But changing a timetable or a schedule or something like that, you need to sit down and figure that one out. That can't be just off the cuff.
Cool. So look, I guess building on our conversation last time, we chatted every week. We in our partners group, we jump on calls and so forth. And your journey it's gone from one thing to the other and improved. And then we had COVID, obviously, and that threw a curveball for everyone. But I mean, you've bounced right back and things are moving. What's been working well for you? Let's just start with that.
Yeah. COVID hit, and like everybody, we had to shut down and teach online classes. But from that, we've actually incorporated a couple of things from the Zoom platform that we use. So every class now is streamed live on our Zoom channel or a Zoom link. So that's been really great because we've got people in. We've got another dojo. So I'm in Brisbane. We have another dojo in Sydney, and so the instructors there can actually watch what we're doing. And I've been recording some segments or sections of the class and uploading them onto our YouTube channel, where the instructors can actually watch some of the drills that we've been doing, and then make sure we're all in sync on how we teach a particular technique or kata or whatever that we're doing. So that's been really good. When Zoom hit, we could Zoom. When COVID hit,
well, Zoom did kind of hit at the same time, yeah.
Yeah. So when COVID hit, we could only have a certain amount of parents or people in the dojo when we could resume classes. So we only allowed the juniors in, no parents. And since then, the behaviour of the kids has been fantastic. So there's no background noise, there's no distractions. It is purely instructors and kids. So since then, we've taken away the waiting area and don't allow parents inside while the class is on. So before and after, yep, but during the class, no. But if the parents want to watch, they can watch it on our Zoom link, which is, it's always on. So with the Zoom, we change the password every month just for security. So if we have somebody who stops training, then they won't be able to watch the training from home. So they're just a couple of things that has made us better since COVID.
Great. So now you just don't let parents in, and parents, it's just become accustomed. So you really took advantage of the fact that they can't sit around, and it's turned out for the better.
Well, yeah, it's turned out better for the coffee shop next door to us too.
Right.
But yeah, look, so the parents know that they're not allowed. It's not that they're not allowed inside. We just not during the class. So they come in, drop, especially when their kids are new. They bring the kids in. The kids sign themselves in, and then the parents either sit in their car or go for a walk. There's a park near us. Some will just go for a picnic. There's a pub across the road too, so I'm sure a couple of sneaky people have gone over there for a few quiet ones.
Cool. So on that, I mean, we're talking about changes. So you made that adjustment. That's been really good. What else do you do? I guess that's different and maybe what things that you don't do that normal schools might not be doing.
Yeah.
Might be doing.
Well, something different that we do since I last spoke to you in the podcast. So we've got a junior leader team, and we also have an instructors team. So constantly developing instructors to assist in the class, as well as take their own class. Not so much the junior leaders. Junior leaders are there to assist in the class, bow the kids in, show the kids what to do, where to go when they first start, and also set up any equipment. But as far as how karate goes, what we do differently, I suppose, is black belt is only just the beginning for us. So we've got we've got lots of second, third, fourth, fifth dans that train with us. There's something after black. You don't need to be an instructor. So we've got, we also teach Kobudo, which is the weapons. So that's for black belt and above. And our karate, I suppose, what we teach is called Koshinkan karate, which means old and new, the school of the old and new. So we teach old style Okinawan karate, which is through Kinjo Horoshi and Mitani Kazuo from Japan. We also teach modern sports style karate for WKF style. So we have different syllabus for kids to the adults. So with the kids, we teach modern sports safe karate for the adults. And why we have so many adults and why we keep so many adults is we teach practical karate, practical self-defense, which has joint locks, throws, vital point strikes, weapons, grappling, all of those fun things that you can't teach your kids. That's what can make us different to most other karate clubs is that ability to be able to teach both. So the same principles that we use in our sports karate applies in our traditional original karate. So that's one of the things that make us a little bit different, and we're all about karate. So karate. We don't have to teach any kickboxing classes, any fitness kickboxing or fitness cardio karate. We don't do birthday parties. We do social events, but that's it's nothing to do with karate. It's just about building a community. So we don't have to supplement our classes and having another martial art here. We don't teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or kickboxing or Muay Thai in our space. It's only karate, only karate.
And why is that important to you? Because I know you really love karate. I know that, and obviously we all love our styles, and when you love our style, we can be a bit biased. But I know you've got like such an in-depth history of it coming through the family, and we could probably talk about that. Your dad, Bob, had started out the business good 35 years ago,
31 years ago.
31 years ago.
Yeah, the Australian Karate Academy, but he started teaching in 1972. So he was one of the first to teach kids in Australia. This was before the craze of the Karate Kid, but that's a whole other story. Yeah, I just love karate. There are so many more things that we are starting to learn more about the history of karate. Things like the Japanese influence into Okinawan martial arts and the Chinese influence into Okinawan martial arts. Those things are being discovered now through guys that live in Japan and live in Okinawa or live in Germany or live in America. So there's still more and more things that we're learning about the development of karate, how it came about. So that keeps me, really interested. There's a competition side which I like as well, and I did compete for a long time. But now my focus is more on developing some of my athletes, and also developing our understanding of karate, getting back to the older style of karate, less kids karate and more, genuine old style, real, original, Dento karate. I started when I was 4, and everything I've ever done in my life, almost everything is geared around karate. My holidays are based on karate. Where I go, the countries I've visited have all been basically built around karate.
I love that. Even though you're building a business, you're not deviating from your passion at all. You really just want to stay on the path. And so I want to play the opposite of that. Do you see it beneficial to have a different style for you, or would it completely just sidetrack you from your passion and your focus of karate?
Well, one of the things that we do is a 2-week trial. So everybody, doesn't matter if you've done karate before, everybody completes a 2-week trial. If little Johnny is a bad seed, then with someone within the 2 weeks, we'll ask him not to come back. Or if he's disrupting the class, if he's there to have fun and not learn karate, then we won't accept him into our club. So sometimes we stop enrollments. If the class is too full, we'll stop enrollments, and then we'll take enrollments for when there is space available in the class. So that's one of the things that I do to ensure that what we're teaching is what I want to teach. There are some karate or martial arts schools out there that want as many as they can. Like, I want many too. I want to teach the quality karate to many people, but I'm not going to take people who aren't there to learn karate. Learning my karate or our style of karate, that's first and foremost. Not 1,500 students or $1 million. It's karate first, business second.
Love that.
So, but a business very close second sometimes.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's the business that allows you to have the passion and, well, to live your passion, right? Because without the income supplying for it, then you don't want to be a struggling instructor as well. That you gotta work the day job and then put money in here, and then life becomes complicated. Yeah.
Well, done that. So now all of my focus is karate, whereas before maybe 30% karate, 7% work. So now, I understand some only want karate as a second or third or a fourth part of their life, but for me, it is 100% part of my life. So I can teach as many people as I can the karate that I've spent 35 years developing, and the more the merrier. As long as their drive is also karate and not being silly. And we've had to ask some people not to come back. Whether they're white belt or brown belt or black belt.
How do you approach that? And what are your benchmark values that you stick by? And if somebody crosses that line, they out the door. What is that line? How does that line look?
Well, for kids, it's quite easy. You can I can see it. Mostly the parents pull them out because they can see little Johnny. He's there for the games, not the karate. So while we have fun in karate is not itself fun. It's hard work. It's repetitive. It's tiring. It's not games. So with our kids, the majority of the class, 80% of the class is karate. Bang, 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 punch, 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 move, move, move. 20% is fun for the kids because they're still kids. You still have to give the kids high fives and positive reinforcement. You're not just teaching karate, you're also impacting that person's life on how they deal with individual sport. They're learning values there on hard work and reward, whereas team sports different. So the individual activity or sport, you still need to give positive reinforcement, positive views to the especially kids. High fives, man. We give so many high fives. So what was the question?
I don't know, but I have another one. And the question is, how do you know you crossed? Sorry, the question was, how do you know if you crossed the line? My follow-up question was on that. If you don't classify karate as a sport, what do you classify it as that? But back to the first question on the values. So what is sort of your values, the benchmark of the line? And you mentioned if they cross the line on, if they're just there for fun and games, it's easy. What else? What else is sort of really important for like go-to rules or values that have got to be abided by?
If they're not a positive influence into the dojo, if they're constantly talking or draining other people as well, distracting other people from their own learning, being a bad partner, that is a big one. Especially in our adult classes, 90% of our adult class is partner work. It's not up and down drills, it's partner work. Old style karate is practice at home by yourself, practice at the dojo with partners. I think modern karate has it reversed. it's 90% of practice, solo practice at the dojo, or it should really be 90% partner work. But anyway, so you need to be a good partner, a partner that your partner wants to train with. If they don't want to train with you, then I will have a word with you, especially with the adults and the kids as well. If you are, you know, an annoying kid whose elbows go out and, you know, hey, then, you know, you will get a warning. They're the things that we look for. Genuinely nice people that you want to hang out with.
Yeah. So if you can invite them over to your home, that's a good sign. And if you cringe at that idea, then it's probably a bad idea.
Yeah. Nobody comes to my house though.
No, of course not. So on the clarifying karate, you mentioned that you don't clarify karate as a sport. What do you clarify karate as?
Well, I think there are sporting elements in karate for sure, especially modern karate. Anything from 1936 onwards, I would probably classify that as a sports karate, where the intention of the activity is to build strength and muscle and speed in a competitive environment. So I would consider karate to be a self-defense program, whether that's weapons or empty hands, for lack of a better word. Karate doesn't mean empty hand. Yeah, I'd consider karate to be a combat system, self-defense for sure, rather than a sport. I don't like the idea of karate as a sport, because it takes away how lethal some of the techniques are and the intention of the techniques. You know, piercing somebody's eyes, for example, goring ups. You can't do that in any sport. You can't do that in UFC, but you can do that in karate. So I don't like karate is considered a sport. I think it waters down the original intention of karate.
Gotcha. So, okay, to be used as a sport, but when the sport becomes the focus, then everything starts to deteriorate. And
yeah. I mean, there is sports karate, and that's fine. It's just not what I like. Gotcha. I don't like the emphasis just on the sporting elements. I mean, everybody's got their own tastes, and I did compete as well for a long time, and we have competitors, but 90% of the people that join my dojo or join a dojo is to learn self-defense, not to compete for Australia at the Olympics. I think a lot of dojo do a disservice by not teaching proper self-defense. They teach modern Japanese karate where they move up and down the floors doing 50 punches and upper blocks and roundhouse kicks. They're absolutely of no use to any self-defense. So if you're advertising for sports karate, then yeah, go for it. But they all advertise self-defense karate, and I think they're lying.
Gotcha. Okay. I want to talk a bit more. That's cool. I'm happy to go there. Like, I mean, if there's things that are completely against your point of view, and this is a podcast, right? We have open discussion. I've never put two martial artists together that actually agree on the same point. It's rare.
Of course.
But but that's what makes it beautiful, right? Is there's diversity in opinion and in styles and everything else. But I like exploring what really pisses you off about it. You know. Let me ask that question. I've never asked that question. What really pisses you off about, in the industry, or about different marketing or programs or?
Well,
it's your time to let it out, Shane. It's your time to let it out. Right here.
What annoys me is when I see people advertising for self-defense, and all they are doing is what we call 3K karate. So kata, kyon, kumite. It's karate that was developed for school children 100 years ago that they're teaching as self-defense. That karate was originally for school kids. Attacks to the eyes became punches to the body. Joint locks were taken out because they weren't safe for kids. Of course, throws gone. All of the grappling, the close in, self-defense, like the self-preservation, the really dirty karate, the dirty side of combat was taken out to teach to children. And I appreciate that, and that's what we teach to kids. But people are teaching that to adults and calling it self-defense or calling it traditional karate. It's not. It is modern, watered-down children's karate. And that annoys me because what makes my dad different is in the 80s, he kept asking questions. Why are we punching to the body? You know, what is the original idea? Why? So he started researching and talking to people outside of his bubble, outside of Queensland, outside of Australia, and started getting answers. Whereas people are still doing the same thing as their instructor did 30 years ago without questioning why. They're just teaching because that's how my instructor taught it. Well, your instructor learned sports, modern sports, children's karate, and they're trying to adapt it to self-defense, and you can't unless you peel back the layers and understand the original intention of that technique, the original intention of why a block to the body should have been a block to the face. You know, fingers to the eyes became punches to the body. Headbutts, all of the really cool things that all of the Krav Maga, self-defense experts, police are taught. But people aren't teaching that in karate. Not everybody. There are some, definitely. There is a big growing list of people of doing it, but we've been doing it for 30 years. And then people come, so anyway, that grinds my gears.
That's great. Anything else that you need to share?
No, I'm okay on that.
Cool. All right, great. Perfect. Let's change gears just a little bit, right? And get back to your business.
Something positive. Yeah.
All right, yeah. We either gained a lot of listeners there or lost a few, but that's great either way.
That's right.
So just back on your business, right? So, I mean, lots of change. 2 years. I mean, if you look at 2 years, right? 2 years going from 110 students to 340. So that's tripling your business in 3 years. I think it's important to always sometimes look at that, right? Because, everybody wants, maybe some people want a mega school, some people don't. Some people want a good thriving business, but want to stick to their core values of karate or whatever your style might be. So tripling your business in 2 years, man, well done. That's
Thank you.
Well done. What do you do different now than you did back when you were around the 100 student mark?
How we schedule the classes are different. The layout of the classes. I want everybody at the end of the class to be sweating and smiling. I heard that off somebody. I can't remember who it was. A couple of maybe a year and a half ago, and it just clicked with me. Smiling and sweating at the end. Whether you're a 4-year-old or an 84-year-old, that should be the emphasis when they're leaving the class. So how we structure the classes are a little bit different. So we do at the end, it's got to be we do not a hard workout, but something physical. Punching for the kids, running, punching. In the middle of the class is the core basis of the lesson. Whether we're doing kata or Kion for kids or kumite or break falls or whatever that we're doing in the class, that's the core part. The end of the class has got to be fun and fitness. So that's one aspect. Another aspect that we do differently is how we schedule appointments for people. So when somebody inquires, we book an appointment through an app. They come down and I run them through exactly how the classes run, the fees, how much the fees are, what's expected of them as members, how the gradings work, any extra money that they might have to pay for at some stage, the belt system, everything that they will need to know for the next 10 years of training. That's different. Instructors, more instructors, you just cannot have enough instructors. If you think you have enough instructors, you need more. You need to be developing instructors. So we've got a group of 4 or 5 middle grade adults that are just learning how to teach karate. They're not out there teaching classes, but they're taking little 5-minute segments of a couple of people learning how to teach karate. So I identify them as future instructors. Everything organized. Like, man, I've never been so organized in my life. We have a 12-month calendar that you helped me with set up. So all the gradings are set. We know when the color belt gradings, we know when the black belt gradings are on, and competition tournaments are going to be on. We know when we're running marketing. This is massive to marketing a budget and marketing windows. So 2 weeks before school holidays and then a week after school holidays. So everything is all set out. It's all ready to go. We've got a calendar that I'm constantly looking at and being organised. That was my buzzword for this year, organised. So all of those things, and just like the systems in place where I don't have to be at the dojo every day. I've got instructors that can take the classes. I come in and just do a couple of admin stuff. Just setting everything up. It took a while, but the dojo is running really smooth at the moment. That's a big difference. Everything is organised. The Christmas party we had last year, I think I booked it in August, so we already had everything organised for the Christmas party. All we had to do was just turn up. It was all paid for, organised, the food. We had 180 something turn up for the Christmas party, and just those things. Gradings, having everybody logs on for their grading. So we used an app where people pay for the grading as well. So the 2 days before the grading, it stops. You can't book after the grading because I've got to organise belts and certificates. But people pay for the grading and then book themselves in for the grading. So then I just have a look to see who's on the grading. So having that, it just makes it a lot easier rather than constantly emailing Johnny. Hey, Johnny, you coming to the grading? If Johnny's not registered, Johnny's not grading.
Great. Yeah, I think, one thing that I think can help anyone, because it's sometimes when you go into growth mode, you're very ad hoc and you're very reactive and you're doing whatever you can to just get to a point. But then when you start refining, one thing that's really helped me is having that sort of marketing that you mentioned that we helped you with, is that marketing calendar of, because thinking is hard, and it is. That's why most people just don't think, right? Because it's a hard thing to do. But if you know you're going to have to plan this year, and you do the thinking once, and you map out what needs to be done, then now you're just getting on the train tracks, and you kind of, on the treadmill, and you're just running, just doing what you worked out, what was the best plan. Obviously, things are going to come up, and you're going to have to shuffle a few dates here and there, but at least you got your core plan 80% done, and you know what needs to happen next. And that's how you get ahead of the game, and you're not running, 2 days before Mother's Day trying to figure out, all right, well, what campaign are we doing? What's happening? What promotion's going out?
That's right. Yeah, and having a budget for those things as well, for the marketing plan, rather than having to scramble for a couple of like $1,000, or I can only spend $200. Having that everything all mapped out: Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, Eka for us, show day or whatever you want to call it, Christmas, all of those things all mapped out very easy. What worked well last year and what didn't work well.
Cool. So Shane, two last things I want to ask. With your growth, marketing and so forth, but there's obviously a lot of retention that's working. So first up, quick chat just about what's keeping your students coming back.
Well, one thing we brought in, this is after a chat to yourself and another member, was a white belt grading. So this has been really good. So white belts, after a certain amount of time, will get an email, maybe 4 weeks, or once they've done the trial and they've become a full member, then they'll get an email to come to a white belt only grading. So it's a grading only for white belts. So we did one on the weekend. Then we had 5 kids and 3 adults. So it's only 20 minutes, half an hour, and I plan it on a Saturday after the normal class because I'm already there. And it's just a little intro into how the gradings work. So they go from white belt up to their first grade. It's almost a half grade, a semi grade, to keep them motivated to come to the next grading. And that way, they're not going to be overawed when they come to their next grading. They already know what the process is. So we talk a little bit about what to expect at the grading. So that retention, that has been fantastic since I started bringing that in. For our adults, we split the class. The first hour is all grades, and then the next half an hour is 7th Q and above, which is about 9 months of training. So after about 9 months to a year of training, you can come into the advanced class as well. So those beginners can see the progression to, that's what I want to do. I want to start doing sparring. I want to start learning weapons. I want to start doing more kata. Those retention tools have been really good for us. And also instructors. Just can't have enough, honestly. Like, you can't do it all yourself. And that is why I failed at my, not last dojo, but so when I was like 10 years ago when I was teaching full-time as well, I tried to do it all myself. I was doing 30 classes, man. You just kill yourself. So you need other instructors. You need to train them well. So those guys, they're fantastic retention tools because they are out talking to people, and they're another face of the dojo.
Yeah, and I guess I want to highlight this because I recall a conversation where this was a big obstacle, because as we talking about your passion for karate, that comes with a whole new expectation. And I recall there was a time where it was really hard for you to let go of that because it's very hard to match your standard, and very hard to match your standard means that instructors have a big role to fill, big shoes to go step into. And so if anybody's struggling with that, what was sort of the point where you decided, well, I've got to let go?
Well, it's the only way to grow the club. Realistically, I took a step back and realized, I want to teach the instructors. I want to teach the teachers. So I would love dojo all around Australia where I just teach the instructors. That would be my goal. So then, the more instructors you can teach, the more students they can teach, and the more my karate style, lineage, whatever you want to call it, is being learned. But yeah, a big wake up was when I didn't want to go and teach. I realised I need other people to teach for me. So all of our instructors, the adult instructors, or instructors who are adults, not those who just teach adults, but we've got three instructors for a kids program, and I don't have to be there. I don't have to go to the dojo. I don't have to teach them because they already know what to do. They're all black belts, all Queensland champions, all have represented Queensland in sports karate, and they're all uni students. The adult instructors, some family members, which is fantastic, but apart from them, we've got 2 knee dan, 2 second dan, 1 fifth dan, 3rd dan, and a couple of short dan, first level black belts who are assistant instructors. This Friday night we're doing an instructor's course. Yeah, you just can't do it all yourself. So I didn't let go. I just made sure that what they're teaching is what I would teach. So everything is structured, and there is some individuality into what you teach, because everybody's a bit different. I'm different to my dad. Same jokes, but my karate might be a little bit newer than my dad's karate, but that's because I'm around a different sort of group than my dad was. So there is individuality in the class and how they teach it, but the technique, the kata, the principles, how we move, how we kick, how we punch, how we throw, how we put a joint lock on, they're all the same. They're all the same. Just how you deliver it might be a little bit different. Their jokes might not be as good as mine.
Of course not. How could they?
Might have to work on the punchlines, the timing.
Exactly. So on that, you touched on goals. And so what is the big vision for Australian Karate Academy?
Well, during the 90s, my dad had about 30 clubs around Australia. I'd like to have 31. We
just because competitiveness is what it is, right?
So when a lot of people were drawn to my dad because he started teaching different aspects of karate, throws, joint locks, cobra weapons. All of these things were unknown in the 80s and early 90s, and my dad had already started doing it and started teaching it, researching it. So we had a lot of people join us from different clubs. So they might have a little club, and they joined the Australian Karate Academy. They needed some direction on one, how to teach karate, what to teach in karate, how to get back to what you wanted to teach. And there were a lot of clubs out in limbo that didn't really know what to do. They were just teaching what they did 20 years ago. So I'd like to help build more clubs. Using our karate and the same marketing approach and the same idea that helped us grow and still teaching quality karate. That is my number one, teaching quality karate. 31 clubs, 2,000 members.
Love it. So if anybody wants to jump on that journey with you, how would they reach out to you?
Facebook. There's only one Shane McMahon with the CHEYNE, so you don't have to look anywhere else. Just type in Shane McMahon, and I'm on Facebook, or you can jump on our Facebook group or Facebook page, which is Australian Karate Academy, and or shoot me an email, Australian Karate Academy @gmail.com. Very easy to find.
Love it. We won't link your email address on the podcast just because I don't think you want to purchase more gis and more things from foreign countries. So we'll skip that. But right, so easy to find Shane McMahon on Facebook. Shane, always great chatting to you. Love watching your journey from the sideline, and I think we need to chat a little sooner than 2 years again.
Yeah, it's gone so quick.
I'd say, what's the next benchmark for you? You said in the beginning of the year 400, but I think 400 students, but I think you're almost going to be there real soon. What's the big benchmark?
Second dojo in Brisbane next year. I think we're going to get to a point in our current dojo where is the limit of students. Yeah, we can teach, or where I want to teach. I don't want 805, 101 class teaching shit karate or poor karate. I don't want that. So I think at my current location, 400, 450 would be a good amount, which is a manageable amount. So the way that I set up the timetable, we still have extra room for more classes, and we've actually expanded since I last spoke to you too. We've taken another 50 square meters, and we're hopefully taking another 35 square meters just to open up the dojo a bit more. So that's second dojo in Brisbane. Second dojo. Where I can actually, that rule, you need to open 2 extra, so you need to have 3 dojo, right? You taught me that rule, George.
Yes, that was Robin De Palma that shared that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you need So no extra 2 dojo in Brisbane. So we have a dojo in Sydney. We just opened a second dojo in Sydney as well.
Perfect. So depending on when you're listening to this, but we'll chat in 10 months from now, and we'll have a look at how that's going. No pressure. Well, pressure's been good for you. So pressure.
Yeah, I'll just do it.
Just do it. There we go.
Yeah.
Cool, Shane. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks again for tuning in. Was it helpful? Did you get something of good value for your martial arts business? Then please do me a favor and let us know. Leave us a comment wherever you watched or listened to this, or just head over to iTunes and just leave us an awesome review. That way we'll know that we are on the right track, and we'll keep bringing you great shows with great interviews, sharing great strategies and tips. So if you haven't yet, now's a good time to head over to our group, martialartsmedia.group. That's the Martial Arts Media business community. I'll see you in the group, and I will see you on the next show.